Welcome to the MS Dev Show, episode number 111. This week, we talk with Josh Caplan about PowerBI, implementing a Markdown engine in C#, packaging WPF into UWP, and Carl talks about cold brew.
This episode of the MS Dev Show is brought to you by Infragistics, providing tools and solutions to accelerate design, development, insights, and collaboration for any organization.
This week we have Josh Caplan, Senior Program Manager on the PowerBI team, focusing on developer experience. How's it going, Josh?
Great. How's it going there?
Good, good. Thank you so much for joining us. This is a topic that we've been trying to get scheduled for a few months, so I'm super excited because you guys are just rocking along at an awesome pace.
Every single week something new comes out.
Yep. So Carl, who do we have for the Infragistics Ultimate Winner of the Week?
This week we pulled a piece of info off of Twitter from Cosimo. Mm-hmm. He started talking to us and Rich Turner after our Windows subsystem for Linux, and he was asking if there's a way to reinit to get a non-root user when doing that, and Rich replied, and they started going back and forth on consoles. And if you want to check it out, we'll put the actual link to the conversation in there, because it looks like Cosimo was inspired to have a lot of fun with WSL.
I love this too. Like, he opens up two consoles, a red console and a green console with exactly the same contact, makes amber. So very interesting. I don't think that's the way it was meant to be used, but that's pretty cool. So Rich had comment too. That's because it has one console within Windows.
Yeah, nice way to show diffs though.
Oh yeah, good point. As long as they're not too complicated.
Yep. If you want to get mentioned on the show like Cosimo, send an email to us at feedback@msdevshow.com. Comment on Facebook, YouTube, Stitcher. We really like those 5-star iTunes reviews. And if you've won in the past and you haven't heard from us, just send us an email with your contact info so we can pass it on to Infragistics.
Absolutely. Okay, well, let's jump into the news. So free is in cake. I like cake and I like free.
Yes, this is kind of a little bit of a callback in January. We did an episode with cakebuild.net, so that the build environment written in C#, and they are now part of the .NET Foundation. So I just thought that was some really exciting news for those guys, and that we'd mention it to our listeners.
Yeah, very cool. Congratulations, guys. Let's see here. Implementing a Markdown engine for .NET.
Yeah, so this guy... Well, first of all, he implemented a Markdown engine for .NET, and we love Markdown. So that's how it really got
we love .NET.
We love .NET. And so that got our attention that way. But also, he just really goes into the details on why he decided to write this. He kind of compared some existing solutions, kind of talked about like how kind of picky he was with performance and, sticking to the right syntax, but yet making something that you can expand. And it really goes deep into parsing and, those details that you really need to kind of implement an engine for, one of these languages like this. So I thought that was kind of cool, just kind of seeing that backstory to it. And then on top of it, being able to see another option for us to interact with Markdown in our code.
Cool. 100 times faster than Markdown Sharp, 30 times faster than DocFX. Very cool. Yeah, man, I just keep scrolling and there's all this performance information, and man, this is pretty hardcore. Great work. Okay, the desktop to UWP packaging project for Visual Studio 15.
So what this is a little over a year ago, we had John Sheehan on to talk about Project Centennial, and this was one of the things I've been really looking forward to. So what this allows us to do is take all our WPF apps, our WinForms apps, and package them up so we can actually deploy them to the store, put them in a UWP wrapper. Well, how kind of Project Centennial's, the outset of that is you take your installer and you execute it in the process of Project Centennial, and it kind of picks up on a bunch of things and wraps it for you. Well, that's all great, but not a lot of us like writing installers. So if you haven't done that, you couldn't use the converter tool. What they've released now is there's a new project type. If you are up on the latest builds of pre-release of Windows, you can actually, in the pre-release for Visual Studio 15, actually get a new project type that will allow you to essentially just reference your existing project and do all the Project Centennial stuff for you with all of your old code without having to do the whole conversion process.
Okay.
So you don't have to write an installer. You can still get it pushed to the store then, and that's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the converter is pretty neat. So what it ends up doing is once you get the whole environment set up, it actually spawns a container, and then it runs your installer inside of that container, and that's how it picks up on everything that's going on. It's really, really cool technology. I'm excited to see a whole bunch of apps using that in the store. So we'll have to stay tuned and see what that looks like and what that does to the ecosystem. And this is pretty cool by itself. And I know we've talked on the show too about the fact that you wrap these things into an AppX now, and in the what is it called, the anniversary update, you'll be able to double click and install those things, which is kind of neat. You don't necessarily have to go through the store. Okay, what do we got next? Monaco Editor. This is cool. I don't know. Did you get a chance to look at this, Carl? I don't know if you're familiar with the background of this.
I looked at it briefly, and I was aware of a little bit of the history with Monaco.
Yeah, and it's funny. This code name, I think, it seems to be like overused. I don't know. I don't know if this was intentional or not, but this, if you look at the history of VS Code, before VS Code existed, there was something called the Monaco Editor, and I believe it still exists. And it was basically, VS Code, but in your browser. But it really wasn't designed for, embedding somewhere of your choosing. Like you had to go to a very specific location and use it. And then VS Code was just the, packaging and using Electron Shell to put it on different browser or on different platforms, sorry. And then add, things like plugins. Well, they've reused the Monaco name, and now they've basically turned that coding portion into an editor. So I guess that's probably the distinction. There's Monaco, and then there's Monaco Editor. So what this allows you to do is actually embed an editor right into a web page yourself. And I actually, a few months ago, I was looking at doing this, and I went to the team and I said, hey, this is what I want to do. And they said, well, that's complicated, and there's just, we just haven't set it up to do that yet. But that's changed now. So if you actually have to show code, you can use this. There are other options out there. So what I actually ended up using in the time being was the Ace editor, which is basically the same thing. It lets you embed an editor right in your page. And I'm using it for JSON, IntelliSense, and invalidation and that type of thing. But longer term, I think this is probably even more powerful than the Ace editor. So I'm excited to have this available. They have instructions on how you can embed this in a page yourself. And this will just keep getting better and better over time, I would think, because it, as VS Code gets better, this will get improved just sort of as a side effect. Okay, so let's talk with our guest, Josh, about Power BI, which is such a cool technology. So, Josh, for those that, might not be familiar with Power BI, can you give us an overview of what it is?
Yeah, so Power BI is literally a business intelligence tool that lets you analyze data of your business or any data, really. And if you kind of look at the history of BI products from Microsoft, years ago, all the products we put out were very focused on IT. You basically had an IT department that would build these massive databases, would then create reports on top of that, and they would give that out to the users in a company. If you ever wanted anything new, add a new column, add a new field, it was always go back to IT, and you wait for this several-month process.
Yeah, I was going to say users complain, then IT changes it, then users complain, then IT changes
it's not
it.
very quick, though, when you say, yeah.
Yeah, not
several-month process.
Yeah.
But so about 5 years ago, we released what we call our self-service BI products, which was Power Pivot for Excel, Power View. These were all tools that we meant to be, self-service, so they weren't under control of IT anymore. And basically, Power Analysts, people who do heavy usage of Excel, could actually go and build their own models and build their own reports, have these kind of fully interactive visualizations. With Power BI, we kind of took that one step further, and back in July, so almost a year now, we GA'd the Power BI 2.0 service, which is kind of meant to be more geared towards pretty much everyone in a business. So you don't have to be a technical user. You can come into Power BI, you can get going you can sign up within 5 seconds, you can get going within 5 minutes. You can actually find data and reports already pre-done, ready for you to go without needing any technical expertise. So Power BI is kind of our way of getting data visualizations, deep analytics to everybody in the business.
Yeah, you guys have a saying. I think it's, correct me if I'm wrong, it's like 5 seconds to sign up, 5 minutes to wow.
Yep.
Yeah, which is awesome because I know I've talked to some other services. I know like Twilio was another one too. They said we have at most 5 minutes to blow somebody's mind, and if we don't do it in 5 minutes, then they're gone. And my experience with Power BI, I went out there and if you just have like an Excel spreadsheet or something like that, just throw that data in there. I mean, we use it for tracking all the downloads of the MS Dev Show and that kind of information, and it ties into a whole bunch of different data sources. And yeah, the first time I went out there and I used it, I just put in an Excel spreadsheet, and within like 2 minutes, I had really cool visualizations and information. So go ahead.
All you need is an email address to get started.
Yeah.
You sign up, you sign in. And even if you don't have any data, you can click on, you click on GitHub. We'll give you a predefined GitHub dashboard. If you're using Google Analytics, we'll give you a Google Analytics dashboard, reports, everything automatically for you. If you're a company that uses Salesforce, you can see all your leads, all your Salesforce information without you having to do anything other than log in, click on Salesforce. That's kind of how we get that 5 minutes to wow piece in there.
Yeah, and it's just powerbi.com. That's all you got to remember.
Yeah.
All right. So, I've looked at Power BI a bit. So there's Power BI, there's Power BI Desktop, and there's Power BI Embedded. So what are the differences between these, and what can you tell us about them?
Well, so for Power BI Desktop, that is our analyst tool. That is kind of our engine. That's where you can download, you can build, you can pull all your different data sources together, you can combine them, you can build these interactive reports on it. But once you've done that, now you just have a file with some nice reports in it, but you want to get it out to other users, or you want to monitor it yourself on a daily basis. That's where the Power BI service comes in. That's our consumption experience. That's our data discovery experience. You load these things to the Power BI service, and you can basically, it's almost like a Pinterest for data. I can find interesting things in the reports I want. I can say pin, and I get these dashboards that are just makeups of little snippets of reports that stay up to date with the latest data. That's how I get from desktop to Power BI service, but I can then share that data with everybody in my organization. I can literally one click hit share, or I can actually create these things called content packs, and they are basically just packages of those contents of things you've made. And when that user signs into Power BI for the first time, if they're in your organization, they actually see all the content packs in their organization, so they can find data that's relevant to them. Say connect, and now they have those content packs. They can start doing their own little Pinterest and clicking on things and making their own dashboards.
Okay. And then what kind of data can I connect to? I mean, I knew you threw out a couple of them there. Is there like some insane list of like a bajillion of these things? Is it just a short list?
The list is pretty exhaustive. There's the connectors you'd think of, like SQL Server, Oracle, and then we started adding things like Salesforce and Twilio and Marketo and all these different online services you can think of. And then anything that has a web API to it, so anything that returns JSON or just REST, you can connect to, and we have all kinds of tools in there for parsing that out and getting that into your data models for you. So really anything out there that emits data, you can get it into Power BI. We even have some capabilities for developers. If they have something that's emitting data, they can just push it directly to us. And every time you push us that data, we'll update all the reports and all the dashboards that are connected to that automatically.
Okay. Yeah, I'm looking at the list here. I found a page that has, I don't know if this is complete or not, but it's pretty insane. Like every database you can think of, essentially, all the different Azure data stores.
Yep.
I don't know. There's like 30 different online services listed out here. Yeah, and then like you said, there's all these generic ones like OData, ODBC. Wow, just pretty much anything you can think of is out here, I think.
Pretty much anything. And one of the great things about Power BI is you're not limited to one source.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to make a report. I can pull in some data from an Excel spreadsheet. I can pull in some data from a SQL Server, and I can pull in some data from, let's say, Salesforce, mash it all together, and produce one report.
Yeah.
Continuously update those.
Yeah. So what about on-prem data sources?
On-prem, we have so Power BI itself is a SaaS service. It lives up in
Yeah.
the cloud. It's kind of born there, lives there. And it can connect really easily to cloud sources, and then it can also connect pretty easily to your on-prem sources. We have Power BI gateways that you can install, and basically you'll install those on somewhere behind your firewall, either personally on your machine or on a server somewhere, and it can connect to all your on-prem sources as well. So basically what you can do is you can keep all your data securely locked behind the firewall if you want to, and still use Power BI in the cloud to visualize the results of that data.
Okay, so it's basically out there, pulling all this data, and then it's making like an outbound connection to Power BI, I assume.
Yeah, technically it's a push connection, so you don't have to open any
Yeah,
ports or anything in your
yeah, that's what I
firewall.
was wondering.
You
Okay,
have a little gateway that just sits there and just starts pushing that data up to Power BI.
okay, very cool.
So can I use Power BI to replace reporting services if that's something that we're currently using in our organization?
So reporting services, obviously still widely used and very much part of that first kind of generation of BI I talked about, where IT driven, IT controlled. Reporting services is still, very prevalent in paginated reports, but it's also the fully on-prem story for Power BI. If people are not ready to move pieces of their BI solutions to the cloud yet, reporting services is the full on-prem story. And reporting services in the last release of SQL 2016, got some major revamps.
Okay.
And we also purchased a company called DataZen,
Mm-hmm.
which is also just dashboards. And we actually combine that as now part of SQL Server reporting services, and it's called SQL Server mobile reports. And basically, you can get mobile dashboarding and mobile and SQL Server reporting all in the same release of SQL 16. And the same mobile apps that we have for Power BI, where you can see your Power BI reports, you can also see your DataZen or SQL mobile reports on there now as well too.
Okay. So it sounds like if I'm using reporting services, I'm pretty happy. I can just stick with that. I should probably take a look at Power BI to see if it's exciting and see if I want to move over to there, but I'm perfectly fine sitting where I'm at as well.
Power BI, in Power BI, like I said, is a full cloud service, and it
Yeah.
can do things that you can do in the cloud that you can't necessarily do on-prem.
Yeah.
We have natural language on there, so you can actually ask questions against your data just in pure text. Things you can do just purely in the cloud that are just really hard to do on-prem, but the two kind of work great together. You can actually even pin visuals from reporting services directly to your dashboards in Power BI.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Very cool. Now I know that, Satya always talks about how he has a Power BI dashboard, and I know that Microsoft is really analytics driven now and intelligence driven. So should everybody in every company have their own personal dashboard?
I want to say yes.
Okay.
That's our goal for
I'm in
sure.
shock.
And that's why, Power BI, the whole point of this, the reboot we did was make Power BI personal to everyone. So you take what's important to you, and you take those snippets of data and you make a dashboard out of them. So you can come in and at a glance, you can see, what is important to you. You can, on your phone, I check every night to see how our usage is doing. I look at a dashboard on my phone.
Yeah.
And then even without leaving, even without having to leave the experience I'm in, I can just go to Cortana. I can ask a question. I can see, what's important to me. So, you can get smart about your business, smart about what you're trying to achieve by just creating dashboards that tell you what you need to know at a glance.
I never thought of doing that, for even metrics, just any kind of metric that I have kind of in my business life, to throw that into an Excel spreadsheet, and then I can put that onto a dashboard. That's kind of a neat idea, because I think you have to, they always say that to manage something, you have to measure it. And not only that, there's things that we measure, and maybe that's not even enough to manage it. Like you have to, we're human, right? So sometimes we have to see a chart, showing, what we're failing at and what we're succeeding at. And the things that we're succeeding at sort of motivate us. The things we're failing at, hopefully also motivate us to correct those things.
Well, that's how we drive actually Power BI. We have a user voice forum where users put suggestions and they vote them up. But the other piece is we try to get features out as fast as we can. And then we look at how the users are using it. We look at the telemetry. Are people clicking on, what's being clicked on, what's not, what's the satisfaction with certain features. We analyze that data. We build dashboards for this. And we use that to improve the product. We use that to judge what we're going to do next.
Okay.
So as a developer, what kinds of ways do I have to interact with Power BI?
So Power BI, we added a REST API when it first launched. And you can actually integrate with Power BI. So you can, if you're building an application, you can connect it up to Power BI to, push data into it if you want to embed some controls from it back into your app, to create content automatically for users, all kinds of things where you can just interact with Power BI. But you mentioned earlier 3 different services, and I never talked about the third one, and that's Power BI Embedded.
Yeah.
That's the one we just launched to preview a few months ago at the Build conference. And before I was talking about integrating with Power BI, that's basically you and your app and Power BI kind of working together. And you have users of Power BI that also use your app and vice versa. Well, with Power BI Embedded, it's basically a service. It's now an Azure service that allows you to put Power BI just into your applications. So if you want Power BI data experiences, you can actually put them into your app, and it's still your application. It's still your users. They don't need to sign up for Power BI. They don't need to go get licenses for Power BI. They don't necessarily need to know that Power BI exists. They can consume those experiences right within your application, just like any of the other experiences in your app.
Which is very cool. Very cool. Basically, I think we just talked about this like on the last episode, Carl, where we were talking about like building charting and how it was just such a horrible idea. And then this takes that one step further. Like, don't build them. Don't even use like a third-party component. Just completely outsource the entire process of rent. I have data and I want it to look cool, so I'm going to outsource that entire process to Power BI and let it take care of everything.
Yep. So, and you use the same Power BI tools to author these things. You use the Power BI desktop to build your data models, build your reports. And Power BI desktop is a free download. If you go to powerbi.com, you can get it there. We use all the power behind Power BI, and then you just actually embed that right into your app. So it's not like you're just embedding a chart. You're embedding all those tools, data stack behind it, and these fully interactive visuals. So I can put 3 visuals on a page or 10 visuals on a page, and I click on one, and it'll actually filter down the rest of the visuals automatically for me to reflect whatever I clicked on that first visual. All that comes if you embed Power BI.
Okay. So what kind of visuals are available? And then what about like custom visuals if there's something in there that I don't have?
Yep. So we have several out-of-the-box visualizations, your basic line charts. We have map controls, tree maps, pie charts, everything you can think, everything you'd expect to be there as your out-of-the-box visuals. They're there for you out of the box. And then we took that code that powers all our visuals and we stuck it up on GitHub. So we open sourced everything.
Woohoo!
And you can actually use that if you want to modify those visuals in any way, or you can use them as starting points to make your own visuals.
Yeah.
And it was our goal when we started rebuilding Power BI when we recently relaunched it. It was our goal that developers be able to build visualizations that have the same capabilities as anything we ship out of the box. There's nothing that you can't do as a developer when building a custom visual there's nothing that we do internally when we develop these that you couldn't do as a developer building these yourself.
Yeah, no secret sauce. And what I like about that approach is, it's probably frustrating for some developers, but I think it's just the way to do it. The fact that, I've seen developers go, oh, well, I really like that control, but, does it have feature X, which is really important to them? And the answer is like, well, no, it doesn't, but you can just clone it, add that feature, and there you go. Like you have it. Yeah. And then ultimately send a pull request. I think, that's a good point to make it kind of full circle.
But you don't have to. You can definitely just anything you want. You can just write your own visuals and actually just use them yourself. You don't have to go through.
Yeah. Cool. Very cool.
So before you talked about natural language queries, first of all, what are those? And, how do you do that in Power BI?
There's a couple ways. So we have a feature called Q&A. And basically what you do is just upload your data models to Power BI, or you import something from what we call our get data screen. And there's a search box at the top of your dashboard. You type in a question, any kind of natural language, you get an answer back. So I can say, show me the number of page views for the last day. It'll show me that. And I'll say, show it to me by age bracket. It'll show it to me by age bracket. And I can do it either in Power BI through that search box, or I can do it through Cortana in Windows. I can ask questions there, and it'll actually give me back a full report in in Cortana itself that I can click on and still interact with.
Yeah. What's cool in Power BI itself is you can say, I want to know how many, what the market breakdown is as a pie chart, for example.
Yeah.
You can actually tell it what you want it to look like as well. So what happens whenever I do that to Cortana? Does it actually come back with like a pie chart?
You can do two things there.
Yeah.
You can do everything you can do in Q&A, so you can say, yeah, give it to me as a pie chart.
Yeah.
We've also made it so you can actually, I can say, show my travel report for today, and it'll actually bring back a page of a report.
Oh.
And it'll parameterize it and filter it down for today. So I can actually see the full page in there. And we have custom page sizes, specifically a Cortana size one, to actually fit it right in Cortana.
So instead of bugging Carl all the time with like download stats, I should really be asking Cortana.
Yeah.
What was I thinking?
Yeah.
You'll just be bugging me to update the spreadsheet then.
Yeah.
Well, if you can automate that, it'll automatically update. So you can actually schedule the refreshes to occur.
Yeah.
Or if you have this data dumping into a database somewhere, you can actually connect to that live and you'll see the latest data.
Yeah. So you talked about embedding earlier, and I know you were talking about using like an existing application. So does that mean like website, desktop app, all of the above? How does that work?
Yeah, right now, I mean, Power BI embedded uses an iframe to actually embed. So anything that can host an iframe can host Power BI embedded. And we wanted to make sure that you could embed into existing applications. And in fact, we specifically went after that. So it's one of our goals to make sure that you didn't have to re-architect your apps just to fit Power BI in. We would just kind of seamlessly fit in there. So we componentize Power BI, so you can just take a report. If I want to see a report anywhere on my page, I stick the report there.
Yeah.
And you can basically, no matter how you log your users in, you continue to do it that way, whether you're using AAD, whether you're using something totally different, something totally custom. You can still log them in that way, and you have a way of delegating that access to us when they want to come and view a report.
Oh, very cool.
You want to make sure that we just fit into what you have already.
Okay.
So how much does Power BI cost? That's like the $10,000 question all the time.
It's $10,000?
So we have two models for Power BI. We have free and we have cheap.
Okay.
This is for the Power BI SaaS service, PowerBI.com one. So essentially what you can do is it's freemium. So you sign up with just an email address and it's free forever. You get a gig of storage per day. Sorry.
Strike
Gig
that.
of storage per user when you sign up for the free one. You have access to all the cloud sources, all our content packs on there. You can build reports, you can build dashboards. And then we have a $10 a month one where basically you get 10 gigs per user. You get some more enterprise features like groups, and you get access to your on-prem data. But those are really the two models. We try to simplify as much as possible. Now, Power BI Embedded is a little bit different. Power BI Embedded is a service inside Azure, and it's meant to fit in with the rest of the developer services in Azure. And like that, it's a consumption-based model. So Power BI Embedded, you can upload all the reports you want, you can embed all the reports you want, and you don't really get charged until someone goes and uses it. So it's based on how many people actually view reports per month, and you'll get that on your normal Azure bill.
So I was looking at the embedded pricing as well, and it looked like that is really only for showing data to customers. Am I correct there?
Correct.
So if I have a report that it's really just internal facing, like for management or the leadership team, I really can't be using embedded for that.
Well, the goal for that is to use Power BI for there. That's kind of what the Power BI service is geared for.
Okay.
And that's where we have those features in there where you can easily share that with your leadership team or whoever wants to look at it. And it has the capabilities in there for managing the updates, all those pieces that you'd have to build yourself if you were going to build this into an app.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that's clear because as developers, we get really creative and we got to make sure that we're not violating the terms of service as we're being creative.
It's not fully clear right now. I would say we're going to actually update that language in a couple weeks.
Okay.
Make it a little bit more clear. But there's a specific reason when you want to use one versus the other. And Power BI is a fully finished application, and every single week we're adding lots and lots of features. I think one week alone we did 140 features.
Wow.
So we want people using that as much as possible,
awesome.
especially for internal reporting, especially for business reporting. And then Power BI Embedded, you're building apps today that either have reports in them or could use data experiences in there, and that's kind of what it's intended for.
So are there any pieces of Power BI that are still in preview, or are they all released?
So Power BI Embedded still fully preview. We're getting close to our GA for that. Power BI itself is a GA'd feature. It GA'd last July, and we try to get features out as quickly as possible. And most of the time, those features go straight to GA. Sometimes there's features that we know aren't fully complete yet, and we want to get a little bit of feedback before we finish them off, or we want to see how users are actually going to use them, and we'll release those in preview. I think the only thing I am aware of right now, I think we have a new security feature we rolled out that's currently in preview. But the service itself is fully GA, and we try to call it anything. It's a new preview feature.
Infragistics' ultimate UX and UI tools and enterprise mobility solutions, Share Plus and Report Plus, enable high-performance apps on any device, faster data insights, simplified collaboration, and market-leading security, all backed by comprehensive support. With Infragistics' ultimate UX and UI development toolkit, you can ensure mission-critical applications delivering a superior user experience on the desktop, web, and native device environments for iOS and Android. With the latest BI tools, wow your users with dashboards providing the data insights that they need when and where they need it, all at a low total cost of ownership. Try it today. Download a free trial at Infragistics.com and follow them for the latest updates in UX and UI development, reporting, and collaboration at Infragistics on Twitter. And remember, each week, if we pick your comment on the show, you will get a free copy of Infragistics' Ultimate UX and UI toolset.
Totally off the wall question. I don't see it in here. Do you have a data source for Trello?
I don't think we do.
Yeah.
We have a connectors team that's constantly adding. We add one connector a week right now.
Okay. Am I able to build a connector for Trello?
So what you can do is, if it has a REST API right now, you can go ahead and if you click that From Web option in there, enter a URL for the REST API, and if we can authenticate with it, we'll actually go and you're going to execute queries against the REST API, and it'll bring back let's say it brings back a JSON blob. We'll give you the tools to turn that JSON blob into tables.
Oh, that's cool.
That you can then go ahead and visualize.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of this like, I kind of, like I said, I want like a dashboard for like my entire job. I'm trying to figure out how to like implement that now. Yeah, so I mean, the most extensible way is using that from web. I've seen people do all kinds of crazy stuff there. Someone created a Stack Overflow connector just using that one time. If actually go on Stack Overflow, you can find it. And they basically pull in all the comments, all the trending articles automatically, and they have their dashboard automatically refreshed without having to actually engage the Power BI team to make those. Okay. Yeah, one other thing we should probably talk about from a developer perspective, I know we talked about the custom visuals, but I guess one thing that I want to stress here too is like how extreme these things can get. Oh yeah. Because I know there's one, I think it's just in the gallery where it's and it's at, I want to say visuals.powerbi.com. I could go out there and look, but there's one that has like fish swimming, and like if your numbers are bad, like the fish die. That was the community winner. So we had a contest for custom visuals, and that was the community winner, or the community chosen one. Where, essentially the fish represented different products, and the more money the product made, the larger the fish was, and if the numbers somehow went into the negative, the fish went belly up and they would float to the top. That was pretty creative. I think the winner of the contest actually was a custom visual that generated other custom visuals. That's awesome. It's called. You basically upload photos to it, and you can drag and drop little data elements on there. So I saw someone do a jet engine, and the different parts of the engine would change colors depending on if they needed attention or not. That's really, really cool. Yeah, these visuals are like extremely flexible, and these things, I think we mentioned it, they're written in TypeScript, but you can use any kind of library in there that you want. So the default I think is D3, and then you can also use just regular SVG. Yep. But I developed one that I can't really talk about, but it was incredibly quick to build. I basically had. I was given a challenge to build it in a week, and I had it working in less than a day. And it's definitely not showcasing my programming skills. It was showcasing how easy it is to get up and running and actually create one of these. So, if there's something specific you need for your company or way you want to visualize it, like, first of all, go out there and see if one exists. Because if it does, then you're pretty much done. Otherwise, you can just go out and build your own.
Yep. And you can, if you build a D3 visual, you end up with just a D3 visual. But if you build it and stick it into Power BI, it plugs into the rest of that data stack, the visualization stack that we have. So you get a whole lot more than just a visual in the end there.
Yeah. Very cool. Yeah, I'm just kind of mesmerized by these visuals out here.
Yeah, visuals.powerbi.com.
Yeah, it's just amazing.
3D globe on there.
3D globe.
You can navigate your data by spinning it around the world.
I see globe map. Is that it?
Globe map, yeah.
Oh, wow. That's really cool. Okay. I can't keep looking at this. So anything else? I know we went through a lot, but is there anything else that we didn't mention that you want to talk about, or do you think we covered it pretty well?
Yeah, I mean, Power BI embedded, and that's one of our biggest developer experiences that we're really pushing right now. Anyone who's building applications right now that want to have data elements in it, want to have Power BI experiences in there, Power BI embedded is your way to go. We're trying to make it as easy as possible. We love feedback. Anything that you'd like to see in the product, anything you'd like to see changed, please go on our community.powerbi.com site, or find me on Twitter and send us that information. Now's the time to influence the product, and now's the time where we're rapidly growing it.
Very cool. So, I was just going to say for the embedded portion, like Dynamics AX is using that, correct?
Oh, yeah, they're using they're using basically the Power BI service. So basically, what you do is you hook it up. When you're in Dynamics AX, you'll actually log into your Power BI account as well, and you can see all the tiles and dashboards you have and reports, and you can link them into their experience.
Okay.
They're also going to have some other experiences using Power BI embedded as well. One thing I did forget to mention was. We also have an anonymous embed solution where you can actually, we kind of call it our YouTube experience for report.
Yeah.
You can create a report and you can go into the file menu there and you say publish to web. And what that does is it makes it available anonymously, and it gives you a little URL or an iframe where you can go to a blog or a website, any kind of public site, and just put that iframe in there, and you can have users come and see the reports there without even having to sign up for Power BI. We use that we actually just did the King 5 elections, the primaries. They actually live on TV used the publish to web features and had it available on their site.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah. Any data that you want to tell a story with and you want to make it public, publish to web is the way to go there.
Very cool. Very cool. Okay. Sounds great. Okay. Azure pick of the week. I should have picked Power BI. So I picked two. I picked Power BI, but my other Azure pick of the week is AzureIoTSuite.com, which is just kind of neat because it's a shortcut URL for bootstrapping an Azure IoT solution. So whenever you go out here, if you're already logged in with Azure, you hit create new solution. You have two options. You have a predictive maintenance and a remote monitoring option. And basically, whenever you click one of these, it'll just ask you a couple questions about what kind of IoT solution you want to set up. And it will actually provision all the Azure services for you and actually set up basically a working IoT solution for you, which I think is really exciting. So it's just making it really easy to bootstrap one of these things. Whenever I talk to people too, I'm like, the point is not that it's like easy to like create this gigantic IoT solution. The point is that it's easy to get started, create that foundation and then build on top of that wherever you can add business value. And this is just kind of a neat way to do that and to learn about it.
And I think the other nice thing about it too is a lot of people might not realize all the pieces and how they connect together. Mm-hmm. And even if this isn't the solution that they end with, it's a good way to get them to start thinking about the problems that they have, especially amongst those common solutions, like the predictive maintenance, like the remote monitoring.
Yep, absolutely. So what is our dev tip of the week, Carl? What kind of software do you have this week?
It's actually hardware. And mostly just because it actually exists and it's not virtual. A while ago, we talked about caffeine and, we got into it. Recently, I've been exploring cold brew coffee. So brewing coffee at either room temperature or below. And I've been doing it actually in my refrigerator. So I'll link to an article to, that explains a little bit more details on how to do it. But essentially, there's a cloth that bag that I got at Amazon, and I'll have the link to that as well, that I just put a bunch of coffee grounds in, and you put that in a pitcher of cold water, nice cold filtered water, and I put it in the refrigerator for anywhere between 12 and 36 hours. And then you have a pitcher of cold brew coffee. It is very delicious, very smooth, low acid, lots and lots of flavor. You taste all sorts of things that you don't really notice when you have hot steaming coffee.
Okay.
And like I've been mentioning to a few people around me, this is the easiest way I've found to make coffee. It's easier than in an AeroPress. And you get more. So it'll last you, it's delicious, so it won't last you long, but it'll last you as long as you want.
Yeah, that was the funny thing. I'm like, oh, how long does it last, Carl? And he's like, well, it should last like, I don't know what you said, like 2 weeks. He's like, but it lasts 2 days. So I love that you just have to buy bags. Like that's
yeah, and it's a reusable bag. So you literally buy it once, and then when you're done brewing, you lift it out, give it a little squeeze, and then just dump the grounds in and rinse it out.
So $15 it looks like is your price to get into this.
And that's for 2 bags, really.
Yeah. Well, I can run in parallel in case I have some kind of failure on one. So high availability coffee. So is it bitter?
No, it is not bitter at all. And like I mentioned, it's the low acid as well.
Yeah.
And really kind of the longer you let it sit, unlike regular coffee, which will get more bitter over time, it just kind of gets almost more mellow. It's kind of cool.
Well, fine. I'll have to try this now. I keep buying hardware, but the thing is here at Microsoft we have the coffee here is like so bitter. So basically, I've been tweaking different ingredients to get it to basically to fix it so that I can drink it, which is a horrible way to do it. Anyway, let's get to our game, which is right here. Stalling. Okay. So, Josh, we play a game on this show. It's really easy. All you have to do is pick a number between 1 and 4 inclusive.
Okay.
And tell us.
3.
Tell me. 3. Okay, here we go. Would you rather never bathe or only bathe in the nearest river? What kind of question is that? That's stupid.
Pick a river on that.
Yeah. Okay, logically, I don't understand.
All right. It's a kid's game.
Yeah, I know, but it like, why would you pick the first one? Like, there's no advantage whatsoever. Normally, these are like hard choices.
So look at it from the point of view of like a 10-year-old. They'd be like, yeah, never bathing. That's awesome.
Okay, Carl, pick a number.
I'll take number 4.
Number 4. You always pick number 4. Okay.
No, I don't.
Okay. Carl with always number 4. Okay. He's like, Arr. Would you rather suck in some helium to hear yourself talk funny, but have your voice get stuck like that, or stick your teeth way out like a gopher and have them get stuck like that?
The voice.
You gotta go voice.
What I'm trying to, I don't want gopher teeth. Okay.
These are easy ones this week.
Yeah. Otherwise, I mean, you could, I guess you could just avoid talking most of the time, but then you'd be like, hello, how's it going? Oh, okay. So that was fun. So Josh, where can people find you?
So you can find me on Twitter, Josh Caplan 1984, which did not think through when I named myself on Twitter.
How old are you, Josh? Now,
I think I was annoyed that every permutation of my name was already taken.
Okay.
And you can go to dev.powerbi.com and find out more about Power BI, and there's links to our Stack Overflow and community sites on there as well.
Okay, it looks like Carl's been collecting them as well, so we'll have a whole bunch of those on our show notes. Okay. And Carl, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Carl Schweitzer.
You can find me at ytechie.com or on Twitter at twitter.com/ytechie. So Josh, thank you so much for coming on here and talking about Power BI. Really cool stuff.
Thank you.